The snow was falling gently outside the window of Mercy General Hospital, dusting the city in white as December crept toward Christmas. In room 314, a pale woman lay motionless, her dark curls spilling onto a crisp pillow. Emma Caldwell had always been the kind of woman who smiled at strangers, the type who left handwritten notes in library books for others to find. But now, her warm heart struggled to beat steadily, her breathing shallow and labored. Across the country, news of Emma's accident had traveled faster than winter winds. A late-night car crash, a drunk driver skidding onto icy roads, and a life left hanging by a thread. But Emma had no idea that halfway across the hospital wing, in the operating theater lit sterile white, a surgeon's gloved hands trembled for the first time in years. Dr. Andrew Bennett was known among colleagues as the ice surgeon. Brilliant, precise, and composed to the point of being aloof, he rarely engaged in the soft chatter of hospital life. His patients praised his miraculous hands, but his residents whispered about his frozen heart. Few knew the truth, that 6 years ago, he'd walked away from the love of his life for reasons no one ever understood. Now, under the glare of surgical lamps, Andrew's gray eyes flickered with emotion behind his mask. He had flown across states the moment Emma's name flashed across his old college friend's message. He hadn't seen her since that rainy September evening when he broke off their engagement, slipping the sapphire ring into her trembling hand and walking away with no explanation. He'd spent years burying the ache beneath scalpels and sutures. But seeing her name on a chart again shattered every wall he'd built. His hands hovered above her fragile frame as monitors beeped in protest. A critical rupture. Seconds mattered. Andrew inhaled sharply, steadying himself. He would save her. He had to. Emma drifted in and out of consciousness for days, unaware of the man who had worked tirelessly to repair her shattered body. Nurses spoke of the mysterious surgeon who rarely left her bedside after surgery, who sat silently through the night, watching over her with eyes that held unshed tears. When Emma finally woke, her world was a blur of white walls and muted voices. Her sister, Grace, squeezed her hand, relief painting her features. "You're okay," Grace whispered. "You made it, Em." But Emma's mind was clouded with fragments of dreams and faces she couldn't place. One memory returned over and over, a soft voice murmuring in the dark, a gloved hand brushing her cheek. She never saw the face behind the mask. Weeks passed, and Emma's recovery amazed everyone. Yet the surgeon who saved her life remained distant, watching from shadows. He never approached, never spoke. Andrew's heart clenched every time he saw her smile weakly at visiting friends, or laugh softly at her sister's jokes. He had left her once. Did he have the right to enter her life again? One evening, as twilight painted the hospital windows amber, Emma wandered into the hospital's chapel. She sat alone on a wooden pew, her fingers tracing the grooves of worn hymnal pages. Andrew stood silently by the doorway, torn between approaching and walking away forever. But when he saw her wipe away a tear, something inside him broke. He stepped forward, his voice barely a whisper. "Emma." She turned slowly, her brow furrowing as she studied his familiar gray eyes. For a long moment, neither spoke. Recognition flickered faintly, uncertain. "Do I know you?" she asked softly. Andrew swallowed hard. I was your surgeon. You had a terrible accident. I wanted to make sure you were okay." She smiled politely, gratitude warming her features. "Then, thank you. You saved my life." He nodded but couldn't bring himself to say more. Fear coiled tightly around his chest. The truth weighed heavily on his tongue. He had broken her heart once, and even now, when fate offered a second chance, he hesitated. Days slipped by, and Emma was soon well enough to leave the hospital. The staff gathered to bid her farewell. Andrew stood far in the back, his white coat blending into the sterile walls. He watched her hug the nurses, laugh with her sister, and wave goodbye to the place where life had given her a second chance. She never knew. A week later, a letter arrived at Emma's apartment. The handwriting was careful, familiar in a way she couldn't place. She unfolded the paper, her eyes scanning the words. Dear Emma, I don't know if you remember me. Once upon a time, I promised you forever and walked away without giving you the reason you deserved. Years passed, but I never forgot the way you smiled, or how you made the world kinder just by being in it. When I heard you were hurt, I came. I was the surgeon behind the mask. I couldn't tell you then, and maybe it's too late now. But I wanted you to know, you have always been my greatest regret, and saving your life was the one thing I could do to try and make amends. Be well. Always. Andrew. Emma's breath caught. Tears blurred the ink as she pressed her hand over her heart. Memories surged back, gray eyes, warm laughter, quiet promises under starry skies. And the rainy evening he'd left, breaking her without explanation. She rushed to the hospital, but by the time she arrived, Andrew was gone. Transferred to a volunteer mission overseas. No forwarding address. No contact. Months passed. Emma poured her heart into life, volunteering, teaching, and spreading the kindness she had always believed in. Yet she carried Andrew's letter with her everywhere, tucked close as a reminder that love, even if lost, left echoes that shaped who we became. 2 years later, while organizing a free medical camp in Guatemala, Emma tripped over crates of supplies and laughed as strong hands steadied her. She looked up into familiar gray eyes. Andrew smiled softly. No mask. No barriers. Just the man she had always known. Sometimes love circles back when we least expect it. And sometimes, behind the masks we wear, second chances wait patiently for us to be ready.